Greetings and welcome to this first session of our catechumen class. And we are going to be studying about the Bible. We're going to be studying about the Bible. And by now, most of you, or if not all of you, now have a copy of a collaborate Lutheran Study Bible, which is a New Revised Standard Version that we'll be learning about. So let's start off by saying and asking, what is the Bible? What is the Bible? The English word Bible is a word that is taken from the Greek word biblia, which means books or little books. And so in the Bible, it is a collection or a library of books. It's a library of books: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Ezra, Nehemiah, Job. You talk about Jeremiah, Joel, Amos, Mark, Acts, Galatians, Corinthians, Peter, Revelation. These are books that have been compiled and brought together to be what we call the Bible. So in the next 1 minute or so, I just want you to write down as many books as you can remember. The clock starts now. Okay, so I want you to count the number of books that you have written. So let's move on to what are the main sections of the Bible. So, like we said, there are books that have been brought together to form one big volume that we call the Bible. But this Bible is divided into two sections or two main categories, which is the Old Testament and the New Testament. The Old Testament speaks about God's relationship with the Hebrew people, with the Israelites. It talks about the covenant. It talks about what the covenant is, a solemn vow. Then the New Testament, on the other hand, speaks about the original covenant, which is now fulfilled in Jesus Christ. And the Old and the New Testament, both the Old and the New Testament, speak to us about the covenant relationship that we have with God. Speaks to us about the relationship that we have with God. Now, let's look at the Old Testament. Let's look at the Old Testament. Now, the Old Testament begins with the first 5 books of the Bible: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. The first 5 books of the Bible. These first 5 books of the Bible are what we call the heart of the Old Testament. They contain the law. They contain the instructions of God to the Israelites, and also contain the history of mankind. It tells us where we have come from. And the next section of books is a section of about 16 books: Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Corinthians. We talk about Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther. And these books are books of history. They tell us about the history and the marvelous works that God has done for us through the children of Israel. So the basic thing is, in the history books, we hear about stories of how God engaged and worked with the children of Israel. And from those stories, we may now be able to draw lessons, and we learn about life in godliness, life in communities, and how we ought to live. The next section of books is the section of the books of wisdom. The section of the books of wisdom. This is the section where you find books like Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Songs of Solomon, and the wisdom of Solomon. In these books, we find the wise sayings, we find poetry, we find God's instruction for wisdom in these books. And these are the books of wisdom. And to conclude the section of the Old Testament, we have the prophetic books. And the prophetic books are divided into two. We have what we call the major prophets and the minor prophets. The major prophets are Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, and Daniel. And the minor prophets, you'll find Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micaiah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi concludes the Old Testament. So that is the Old Testament. Now, in the next few minutes, I will call out a book, and I would want you to connect them to their sections. Are they books of law? Are they historical books? Are they prophetic books? Or are they wisdom books? So I'll just call them up and see whether you can connect them with where they belong. So here goes. The first book is Micaiah. Micaiah. Can you connect that? Yes, it's a prophetic book. The second book is Second Chronicles. Second Chronicles. Yes, it is a book of history. Indeed. The third book is Song of Songs. Indeed, it is a book of wisdom. The next book is the book of Jeremiah. Jeremiah. It is a prophetic book. The next book is the book of Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy. Yes, it is found in the section of the first 5 books of the Bible, the books of law. The next book is Proverbs. Proverbs. This should be easy, because Proverbs are wise sayings. So indeed, Proverbs is found in the book, in the section of the wisdom books. Exodus. Exodus. Yes, Exodus is found in the first 5 books of the Bible, in the books of law. The last book is Judges. Judges. Yes, Judges is a historical book. In actual fact, it is the first book of history after the first 5 books of the Bible. Let's move on to the New Testament. Let's move on to the New Testament. So the New Testament begins with the story of Jesus of Nazareth. The first 4 books talk about the life, the ministry, the death, the resurrection of Jesus of Nazareth. These are called the Gospels. These are called the Gospels. These books are Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. These are the first 4 books of the New Testament called the Gospels. And then we have one book that seemingly stands alone. It seems to be like a book of history, tells us about the history of the early Christian community, how they lived and how the Christian community was established. This book is called Acts, or Acts of the Apostles. After that, we have a collection of books that are letters. These books are letters. They are also known as epistles. So whenever you hear us talking about an epistle, it is a letter. And the first collection of letters are letters that were written by Paul, and they are called Pauline letters. There are 14 all in all, starting from Romans, 1st and 2nd Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, 1st and 2nd Thessalonians. We have 1st and 2nd Timothy and Titus and Philemon. These are letters that were written by Paul. Paul was in the business of writing letters to his disciples to provide them teaching and to correct abuses in the early church. Then we go to a section where we have non-Pauline letters. In other words, they are epistles, but they were not written by Paul. We have 7 all in all. We have Hebrews, James, 1st and 2nd Peter, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John, and Jude. These are written by Christ's apostles, or at least their disciples, to provide a teaching and to correct abuses in the early church. The last book in the Bible is Revelation. This book is written in a very unique way, in a way that is called apocalyptic literature. It was written during a time in which Christians were persecuted. So what they did is they tried to hide and write in code. So it is called apocalyptic literature. Like we did with the Old Testament, I would want us to try to connect the books of the New Testament to their sections. Are they Gospels? Are they Acts? Are they Pauline letters? Are they non-Pauline letters? Or does it belong to Revelation? So the first book is 2nd John. 2nd John. The name should give you a clue. Yes, it is a non-Pauline letter. Mark. Indeed, it is a gospel. Galatians. Yes, it is a Pauline letter. John. Indeed, it is the gospel according to John. So it is a gospel. Revelation to John. Revelation to John. This should be simple. Indeed, it is Revelation. Romans. It is Paul's letter to the Romans, so it is a Pauline letter. James. Indeed, it is a non-Pauline letter. Acts of the Apostles. Acts of the Apostles. Yes, it belongs to Acts. So in these 15 minutes, we have managed to go through the entire Bible. In the next lesson, we are going to look at what the Bible talks about. And I hope that as you go through this video, you'll be able to understand all the books of the Bible at least. I don't expect you to memorize them by head, but at least to know what they talk about and to which sections they belong. Have a blessed day.